Round number 4 of season 13 of Night Owl brings us to the newest track in ACC, Valencia. One beautiful race course put on display for the first time on Saturday night. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to continuing coverage of Night Owl. It's Jesse Lee and Ted Edwards back in the booth with you. Stewie on camera duty as per usual. And it isn't raining right now, Ted Edwards, but it has been a wet weekend so far.
Yeah, sure has. Been hearing from a few other drivers like Jordan Daly and Phil Robertson. They've been saying it's been a bit up and down, rain here, and then a bit dry, or sometimes starting dry and then going to rain. So yeah, they're finding it a little bit difficult to get their setups nailed for a dry and wet. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one.
Going to be an interesting race, of course, but before we run the race, we've got to do qualifying, and you got to get while the getting's good. We don't know how the weather is going to hold out. At least we know this qualifying session is going to be dry, so everyone's going to try and get the best out of it, though I will say the track's green with all the rain we've had. Will we get to a place where we have something other than a green track? I would probably suspect we're going to get to probably not optimum with the amount of cars we have, but we might get at least a little grip on the tarmac. Jordan Daly, just gamers, out in front, first out of the pit lane. They will start their very first qualifying lap here at Valencia.
Yeah, it's pretty technical track. This it's pretty fun as well. Here in the wet, but I haven't driven here in the wet. Obviously, when it first came out in 1.9. We had a little go around here. We had a server up, I think 4 races we did, and it was pretty fun. Very close racing. Very hard to overtake in some of the corners and parts of the track, but all in all, it's pretty good. And you were saying about it being a green track, and you'll remember Night Owl now runs on a Saturday for the practice. They have 45-minute practice beforehand, and then a 15-minute quali, and qualifying races on a Sunday. So the race starts straight after the qualifying finishes, so maybe that green track might turn to an optimum track or a fast. Might have to wait and see about that one.
Yeah, it's certainly going to have to see what the track does here. It's green now. There's significant activity, but I just don't know in 15 minutes if there are enough cars to go back to optimum, but it will almost certainly take some rubber. So all of these laps here are basically just practice. Get in a banker time, because there's no way anyone, in my mind, is going to be running their quickest laps right about now. Nearly running out of track room was Jordan Daly there, rounding the final couple of corners, and now the final corner. Campos back down onto the front straight. This should be a valid lap time. We'll wait till they get to the boards, and it is a 33.130. And immediately outdone by Timothy Flamger, a 32.845, the quickest thus far of the, well, frankly, 2 cars that have taken time. There comes Moffitt in there in P3. Again, all these times important, but probably not representative. I think they're going to go a bit quicker.
Yeah, I would say so as well. It's yeah, this track was pretty good. I remember driving with Stewie. He was in the old Porsche, and I was in the little bit of wiggle there for Kiyakowski, hitting the inside of that apex there. Just a bit too much, catching the grass and sending them out wide. But yeah, Stu was in the old Porsche and I was in the new one. We were training the fastest laps, and obviously this was on day 1, so we're just getting used to the cars again. But just goes to show the older cars are still sort of with the new ones, and yeah, it was pretty good fun. The driving is very close. It's just making sure you survive, really.
Messina goes through P9 on that lap, a 34.760. So I'm not sure where the track limit is in turn 1. I've never ran wide enough here to invalidate my lap, so I have no information on how far is too far. I do have a good idea of where it is on several of the corners, being told by veteran off-track driver Stewie that it is fully on the green, that he validates for time. Appreciate that, Stewie. I have been off here quite a bit, just never quite there. I'm always, I don't know, it's such a sweeping turn number 1, that for me it was always sort of hard to go too far if I was following other cars through there. Speaking of which, could get you in trouble. We'll highlight that following other cars and how it could be bad for you in the race. Ted, you've raced around here. What are your thoughts of this circuit?
It's actually pretty fun. It's difficult, like you see that bit there from the 169 just bouncing the way through. That bits can be a little bit difficult. If you catch it wrong, it really throws you off. But it's actually not as bad as some people make it out to be with the overtaking. It's just you got to overtaking the right areas. You can't just go for a silly dive in the mid part. You can try. If the other car doesn't let you through, then you're gonna have a bit of an incident. But it's pretty fun. It's technical. Also, it keeps you on your feet, on your tippy toes.
Jordan Daly was quickest there for a little while. Then Bram Agudelo goes to the point, the quickest driver in a Lamborghini and in the silver class, a 32.347. There are bonus championship points for setting on the pole here, and they are divided by class. So Jordan Daly, despite the fact being second place and starting opposite pole, will still, if this holds, he would be the recipient of pole position in his class, despite Bram Agudelo taking the overall pole. There is no points for the overall pole, just in class. Two classes, of course, pro denoted by the white number background and silver by the, well, quite frankly, silver number background. And with that all taken care of, man, there's a lot of silvers out there tonight.
It sure is. Got a few people having to dip. I think just things like happening at the weekend, but it always happens. You know, people got things to do, but you still got a good 22 grid. And, you know, even if you're in a silver class, doesn't mean you have to give way to the pros. You can always, always fight them. Oh, that was a bit of a slip and slide for Chris Wilson right there. Apparently, that is still a valid lap. Just
See, that's what I'm talking about. You just don't.
You just don't know on this track. Yeah, but yeah, like 169 can still fight daily for the overall points, because there is an overall point system. It's just mainly goes off of the classes, the pro and silver. So it doesn't have to give way to blue flags. Doesn't have to give way to the higher class. And still fight for it.
Certainly can do, as qualifying at the halfway point now. Everybody getting a little bit more comfortable with the cars. Again, most of these drivers will have practiced in the rain of practice. I don't know why I said practice so much. Now I'm weirded out. But beyond that, the green racetrack, the dry racetrack, throwing them a curveball, also the green nature of the track, probably something they wouldn't have had too much time to practice on either. One car I saw go off in turn 4 actually. That was the 64. They reset the pit lane. I believe will be coming out at some point. Still time to get laps in. Timothy Flamger goes to the point, a 32.227 for Timothy Flamger. Talking to Jordan Daly before the race, said that was the one driver he had his eye on. Timothy looked absolutely on rails out there tonight.
Yeah, Timothy and Daly have I wouldn't say a rivalry as such, but very close in pace together. And Daly in the AMG Mercedes and Timothy in Porsche 992. It's be a pretty good fight. And can't forget about that silver driver sitting there in the Lamborghini Evo 2. It's going to be a good show tonight. Just have to see. They've still got 5 minutes 50 left for qualifying. That can all change if the pro drivers go a little bit faster.
11 EPEC here in the 224. What hour of the day or night or morning must it be for 11? I think we've looked this up at some point, but I have forgotten. But again, Night Out brings out the international crowd for sure. Mike Redford, by the way, who was in our chat earlier, said, "Bring on the pain," again, in reference to the disastrous race 1 week ago. Back out there tonight. Didn't seem like he had too much confidence coming into tonight. The 95 car in 21st place, but looks to be about to set a way better time and has done. Jumps about 10 positions, 33.670. A little bit better for Mike Racing there.
Oh, look at that weather, Jesse Lee. In 30 minutes time, light rain comes, so we'll probably see the start of the race be wet, which is pretty interesting to say. Which is definitely going to change up some people's driving styles or setups. If they're running a full drive right now just for qualifying, they should hopefully have a mixed setup at least, or a full wet. Just getting around. Sometimes running a full dry can get you around on a wet track. Just put the wet tires on. As I found out last night doing Zandvoort for the Friday champ, just ran the aggressive setup, and away I went. It was pretty all right.
Well, qualifying entering its final moments, 4 minutes. The rain not going to be a problem in this session, but due to the reasons that Ted Edwards explained earlier, qualifying and the race being on the same day, that might be something they have to deal with in the race if it is more than just a pop-up shower here at Valencia, which I would probably argue, based on the weather report we received, it is more than just a passing shower. But again, I've been wrong before, so we will wait to see. Matthew Malcolm in the 199, Malk Racing up into 11th place and inside the top 5 in the silver class, looking to break through into the top 10. And if he's able to do that, he'll at least know that he has got one more spot in his class up into P4 at least. Pusina, the closest, might not take any further part in this session. In Pusina, they are in the lane. They've got some time to get out there and run a lap, but they are in no hurry. They are the only car in the pit lane. The 623 of Schuten, they have spun in the tight right-hander. Easy to do that, easy to hit the curbs and end up in the sand. I would reckon that is what happened, but that car has rejoined the racetrack.
You're on about Pusina. Pusina's in the chat here saying, well, had no wet setup, now dry quality. Give this horse some life, I guess. And they say that we'll have to see how the race will be. So yeah, they're sitting in the pit lane, chilling out, ready for the race. Have to see how their race goes.
I will say, I love a driver who's a realist. They'll tell you straight up, like Priscilla. Look, didn't have a dry setup. Thought it was going to be wet. Practice in the wet. No real reason to go out there and continue to bang my head against the wall. I'm in the pit lane. Let the rain start. Eden will be happy that there is rain on the forecast, seeming like it's going to signal that it is going to rain. So all that effort, not a loss on them. Seville, by the way, your second place in the championship driver, Jonathan Seville, he is currently on pole, a 31.667. This track has not budged, folks, from green. 23 plus drivers here on the racetrack tonight. Not enough to push this green racetrack. Of course, it was raining in practice. It would have been a green racetrack after that with no on-track activity. I thought we would see at least something to rubber this place in. It has not happened in 15 minutes.
Yeah, you know about Seville. They've just come from another race, haven't they, Jesse? A 12-hour. Now they're joining us for Night Owl. We've had some drivers do that before in the past. They've gone and done an endurance race and then opted in to do Night Owl. I've definitely done one before. Was doing a 24-hour of, I think it was Daytona, and then I decided to do an hour of Night Owl back when I raced this champ. And I tell you, it's not easy jumping, even if you're in the same sim, jumping from car to car and server to server and just getting back in the flow, because you can be pretty tired.
Yeah, I will say, if some of those Pulse Sim Sport cars have come from SRO's 12-hour race to this, it's the second time in like 5 hours I've commentated over them in a race. But can I just say that if the Pulse Sim Sport cars do show up to this race after that grueling 12-hour race that literally just ended about 10-15 minutes ago, that is incredible dedication to your craft to want to show up to a community race. There's no money on the line here tonight. You got to wait till the 28th to get that on this channel, all right? But no money on the line for Night Owl. It's all pride. It's all for fun. I always said it was the night that RCI lets its hair down a little bit. They have a little bit of extra fun up here in the booth. And, I mean, it's a hit, I think, is quite frankly, a lot of drivers enjoy racing late into the evening. You're from the Americas. It's a pretty standard time of the day still, or for everybody else, quite late. But those Pulse Sim Sport cars showing up after the fact, just incredible fortitude from them. Seville will take the 31667 to the pole position. Timothy Flamger comes across the line. No improvement, half a second off. Agadello, who we're looking at here, Tier Sim Racing, currently pole position, has had sole position of the pole position in the silver class this whole time. But could they go back to the front row? Yes, they will. A little bit of an improvement, a 32.145, and that puts them back on the front row.
That is a crazy lap time. Well done to them. The Orlick's coming through now, and the car off to the left. That's a bit scary, but see where they are. They're in 10th place, only third in the silver class. Can they get ahead of Malcolm, who 8th place, second in silver? We'll have to wait and see. They got toe off the porch in front. That's going to help a little bit. Comes up to the line, and yes, 8th place. Oh dear, second in the silver class, and that's not good.
Yeah, you could hurt yourself doing stuff like that. But again, it's Night Owl, baby. Here are the results of qualifying. Jonathan Seville in the 97 Ferrari. Well, quite frankly, something we don't really ever see. Quickest in every sector, purple in sectors 1, 2, and 3. A 31667, the best of the lot. Aguadello P2, but P1 in the silver class in the 169 Lamborghini. About 5/10 off of that pace. Flamger, Daly, and Kierton round out your top five. Epec, Rodriguez, Ulrich, Malcolm, Moffitt, your top 10. The rest of your starting grid scrolling past your screen. Malcolm, by the way, has rejoined us in the chat to say, wasn't expecting a dry qualifying session. Malcolm, you and me both. Moving on from how they'll line up, let's tell you how they've been finishing. These are the pro standings as of tonight. These do include the drop round that everyone has. So, Jordan Watson leads the championship, 141 points over Jonathan Seville, 130 points to their name, 11 between them. That is definitely within striking distance. In third place, Javier Marquez with 106 points. Lucas Weiss 97 points in fourth place. Miles Dixon 1 point behind 96. Jordan Daly 93 points in sixth place. Raphael Huel 75. A tie for eighth place. Rodriguez and Flamger on 74 apiece. Abel Dos Ramos rounds out your top 10. He's got a nice 72 points in the 69 car. Ending the pro field, Levant Epec with 68 points. Phil Roberts on 59. They had a good showing last weekend out. Olivier Kierton on 58. Danny Moffitt on 46. Eshan Lele on 44. And a dash instead of a numeral means they have retired from the championship. Ted, you want to take us through the silvers?
I sure can do, Jesse Lee. Here are the silver standings. We have Matthew Malcolm in the Ferrari, 127 points. There was that 16-point lead over Polo Martino in the 108 in second place in the Mercedes. And then we've got Manso, Agudelo, and Orlix third, fourth, and fifth with 105, 88, and 85. Pretty close between fourth and fifth right there. And then we go down to Kiyakowski, Redford, and Fillmore with 6th, 7th, 8th with 77, 74, and 68 points. Pretty nice fight there as well. And then we got Mustak and Pimlaw 9th and 10th, 65 points and 58. And we move on to the next 10 cars, 11th to 20th. Kerrigan, Allen, and Ferreira with Kerrigan and Allen with 53 points, each tied for 11th at the moment, 11th, 12th, and then 13th is Ferreira with 48. Joined with Piscina on 48 as well. What a nice couple there we have. Two couples next to each other. 15th, 16th, and 17th is Wilson, Donoso, and Starkey with 40, 31, and 28 points. Followed by the last three, Law, Jowett, and Barham with 25, 25, and 21. So there's another couple there, 18th and 19th joint on points as well. And we've got a few more drivers, Brent Jones, Rick Piper and Markey. Sorry, Jones, Rick, and Piper with points at 19, 15, and 8. That's 21, 22, and 23. Marky B, David Lewis with 0 points of mid-season signers by the looks of it, 24th and 25th, and the rest of them have signed out with the championship.
You know, just going over some of the things going on in chat, uh, Michael Redford points out the car he's in hates curbs, and he found the only real curb. There's a lot of curbs on this racetrack, but what Redford's on about is there's only a few that actually stick up. Of course, a famous MotoGP racing track, Valencia, one of my favorites in MotoGP, there, and it's very little gigantic curbs around the race circuit, but there are a few, and they are very, very dangerous to hit. Several of those drivers running afoul. Redford also saying that you reckon they had about half a second untapped potential in qualifying. Well, Pole Sim Sport is here, and they are on pole. What a long day it's been for them. 12 hours at Bathurst, and then now another hour in what will certainly end up being mixed conditions. And on top of that, you go ahead and take pole. We go down your lovely painted up grid for the very first Saturday night Valencia race. Ted Edwards, who you think's going to take this race? Who do you think's got a shot move up through the field? What's your take on well, just this how this race is going to start in general?
It's sort of a tricky one, but I think Phil Roberts can make his way up. He's done it in the past few races I've seen. Had a look back, and he's just sort of, he qualifies at the back. But that's the same thing I do. I qualify at the back, but then you just make your way through the race. You do your own race. You get into the clean air. You let everyone else do whatever they want, crash into a wall or mess up pit stops and stuff. So you just do your own race, and Phil's done that very well, and he's got some good points. So I think he will do that again in this race. Jordan Daly, another one in pro. They're pretty feisty. Yesterday were really, really quick, so wouldn't be surprised if they can get a podium today. And obviously, you can't forget about Agudelo. Pole in silver class, second overall. They got a good shot just winning this outright with the pace they had in the qualifying. Will they have the pace in the race? Not too sure. Depends on the weather and depends how the setup goes. But you just can't you can't forget about the people near the back of the grid either. Neil Pimlott rejoined for some reason, left, but is sitting right at the back, and we know that they're a pretty quick driver, so I can see them gaining quite a few places in this race.
Lovely points as always, Ted. I couldn't agree more. You're going to have a couple of cars at the back of this field likely to put on a show trying to move up through the field. This racetrack, for those that are uninitiated, Valencia, it's a racetrack that has a lot of overtaking opportunities. If you set it up right, you could end up side by side for nearly half a lap trying to make that pass, but there is enough room in these tight confines to make passes. And when you crash here, you typically don't hit anything. You typically find a gravel trap most of the time or a painted tarmac area runoff to go into, and you can rejoin without incident. So we shouldn't see too many. Is Rossi drive that car? We shouldn't see too many catastrophic incidents tonight in this race. But again, I say that, and it's night out, so you never can tell. 23, 24 cars strong to the field, and hello to everyone just joining us. Glad to have you along with us on Saturday Night Owl. We hope that you're well wherever you are on this evening, and of course, we thank you for spending a little bit of time with us. What have you missed? Well, qualifying was hotly contested. 4 or 5 cars contesting the top spot. Silver car in P2, and oh, by the way, it was dry after a wet practice. But as we know, there is rain on the horizon within 30 minutes, probably closer than that now, but the start is dry. You can see every car out there on the branded Pirelli P0 tires, which is indicative of them being slick racing tires. Oh, by the way, Ted Edwards, we're not done just yet. Of course, this is Night Owl, and we have random pit requirements week to week. So, on this day here in Valencia, what are the pit requirements?
Well, Jesse Lee, it's a pretty different one. We have have a 2 mandatory pit stop requirement. Both have to have a litre of fuel minimum put into the car with a 57-minute pit window. So it was basically a minute and a half into the race it opens and a minute and a half at the left of the race it closes. So they've got all the time in the world to serve this. But on top of those requirements, they have a fixed fueling time of 25 seconds. So that's 25 seconds each pit stop. So it doesn't matter how much fuel you take, you got to sit there for 25 seconds. So with the rain coming, people might use one of their pit stops to change tires, which only adds another 5 seconds more.
It sure does. Everyone, again, when the rain does come, you would expect them to have to change the strength and the length of the rain shower coming in. We can see the clouds. It looks fairly significant. Keep in mind, I'm not a meteorologist. I'm barely a broadcaster, so I can't really tell you how hard it's going to come down or how long. But it does look a bit threatening. Off in, you can't see me pointing. I'm pointing off in a direction, folks. Do take that to the bank, but we'll see just how difficult it's going to be. And I would agree. Most people are almost certainly going to time that with the rain. Of course, timing that's super important too, because you can lose a lot based on when you come into pits to do that.
We're coming up to the last corner, so these guys are getting ready to race. It's going to be interesting to see how these cars can go around the track side by side, Jesse. We haven't seen it, I don't think, yet in any of the champs. But I can tell you for one thing, it is very tight through some of the corners. So they've got to drive nice and clean. Remember, we don't have live stewarding, but there is post-race stewarding, so they will do that themselves after the race. But we're about to get underway. It is green and they are off, and Ferrari has pulled some gap already.
Seville going down into turn one, got the whole shot off the line, and it's going to be immediately Agudelo under fire from Flamger behind. Flamger's going to sneak his nose in there, and then off the corner, Agudelo able to hold on to it in the Lamborghini, but still giving room to the inside to Flamger as they're side by side. Seville driving away for Pole Sim Sport. A little bit of a calamity in the background, 3 wide as they come through turn number 1 and turn number 2. One car way off into the runoff, into the gravel trap. They'll be able to rejoin. Didn't make it anywhere near to the wall, but they're going to be shotgun on the field. I don't know what car that was, the 225 perhaps, at the back of this field. Seville running away, holding on to second place for the time being is the Lamborghini. Side by side for P3 and side by side for mini spots. A little argy-bargy back into the field, but everybody else got away very nicely.
Yeah, it was the 225, bounced off another car. It's Phil Roberts. Yeah, unfortunately just hit one of the other cars. I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, just pinged off the side. Yeah, like you say, luckily it didn't hit the wall. So it's like you said before, there's a lot of gravel, a lot of tarmac on the runoff. So, you know, basically this track is a car saver, if you like, because you've got to do something terribly wrong to hit a wall here and get damage.
I said this before, I'll say it again. In my short time at Valencia in a GT car, of course I played the MotoGP games over the years, just even to last year, a big move here. And, you know, I've had varying success with that, but in a four-wheeled race vehicle, I've hit a lot of things here at Valencia, but I've never hit a wall. So you very much can do that, I assure you, but it is harder than at some of the other tracks. Early pitters include the number 11, the pit cycle open. Remember, you got to give 2 pit stops here tonight. The 11 coming in already. Meanwhile, look at your weather indicator in the top right portion of the screen. Light rain in 10 minutes. It's less than that now, so light rain expected in less than 10 minutes. Seville leads over Flamger, who did get by the Lamborghini. Several people have, and I suspect there might have been contact. Agudelo down in P2 in the class. Ulrichs up to the lead in that 587 Ferrari in the silver class. Jordan Daly promoted to P3. Flamger in second. Epec fourth. And Olivier Kierton, your top 5, all in the pro class.
Yeah, so obviously went horribly wrong for the 169, dropping all them places. Oh, as we see here, 67 getting pushed off by the 903 Vecina. Oh, that's like you say, RG is going on here, and maybe number 11 is at the back. I'm not sure. What
They
happened
pitted.
there? Oh, did they pit? Sorry, I missed that
They did indeed.
completely. But yeah, there's like I said before, this track is very hard to drive side by side. You've got to be very careful. You got to trust the other driver. Is one thing as we see in Aston Martin, number 50, Donoso just going a bit wide there onto the gravel, but gets it back on track. Number
Neil
2,
Pimlott making a
Matt.
decision here. Who do I go with? Who do I push? Who do I try to get around? Thinking about going 3 wide. They might go 3 wide. Wilson is going to be who he's going to be fighting. He was able to dispatch B really quickly and get around them, but unable to challenge Wilson here. But still, Neil Pimlott up another position.
Just looking back on Curtin's car at Orlix and Adello, both silver cars, right on the rear end of this Audi. No, this Ferrari. Sorry, that's wrong. Being 2 Ferraris here, Ferrari and Lamborghini. Pretty car, I think, for the Ferrari. A lot of people not sure about the design of this new car, but I quite like it, Jesse Lee.
Yeah, I've heard both sides of the coin, and I will say I'm in favor of it. I like the new style. It was about time that Ferrari had a new design, and it's one of those cars that it didn't even have to grow on me. The BMW, of course, had to grow on me a bit, and now I'm used to it. The Ferrari, I liked it pretty early on. Here's some contact, Starkey,
no.
and yeah, just a pile up there.
That's
That's the nature of this racetrack. Hit contact like that, you're going to spin them almost certainly into the line of fire, and you're going to have Starkey doing that there. Fred Fiera in a group of cars getting a huge run here, thinks about going off the racetrack to try and gain a position. I don't know if that would have been legal even if he was able to hold it. Almost unable to hold it, gets into the gravel, the car starts to come around, and he's got a saw in the wheel to catch it. That was huge moments right there.
Yeah, well held from them. That is very scary. It was this Matthew Malcolm, the 199 Ferrari. There you go. That's Phil Roberts just bouncing off them. Yeah, that's what happened at the beginning. Unfortunately, but luckily, gravel slowed Phil down just enough.
You're going to get a lot of that here, Ted. You're going to get a lot of that, not just in this race, but in general. It's sort of Kyalami-like in that way where you get a significant amount of side-by-side racing, and there's a lot of argy-bargy, there's a lot of elbows out, there's a lot of door-to-door contact that sends a car off the racetrack, not necessarily into a wall, but just sort of off the racetrack. And it's kind of Kyalami-esque, except at Kyalami, you do tend to find a wall. Here, there's usually enough room. You are able to recover. This turn right here, folks, pay attention to this curb. That is a massive inside curb. If you get that wrong, as one car goes off to the inside on cue, if you get that inside curb wrong, you are going for a wild ride. The 67 off in that very turn right now. Pereira sideways. That is exactly, I can almost guarantee. Oh no, it's just side-by-side racing.
Yeah.
It was contact before he got there with the BMW.
Yeah, I think that was Piscina, I believe, the 903. So waiting for everyone else to pass, which is very sensible to do so. You never want to pull out into another car and then you both get damaged, and effectively you can get a penalty later on from the post race. But yeah, that's annoying. You bounce off a car like that. You know, you don't want to go too wide into that corner anyway. It's very tight. The corner can bounce you into the other car, and the same with the exit. It's not great if you take too much of the curves, because it's a split curve, isn't it, Jesse? Because I think there's a road through there, or another piece of the track, and you just bounce over the curves and it unsettles the car.
Yeah, there's an exterior curb that is not unlike the orange and white ones you see, but there's a inner curb, the green part, which is normally, again, because it's a bike track primarily, it's flat, but on that curb, it's a huge anti-cut green curb that just towers over anything else. And if you hit it, it will send you around, it'll send you into the dirt. I've seen a couple of cars hit that in qualifying, a couple hit it here in the race, and again, you don't really hit the wall, but if you're in a pack like this, you're going to lose every spot that you're contesting at this time. Vinny Simeon in chat said, got the tee I've got what do you say? I got the tea, I've got the toast, got the race, and it's on. Happy to have you with us, of course. See a familiar face in chat. Another Phil that I'm acquainted with. Hello there, and welcome in to. I'm going to say it properly for them. Night Owl, the best night. Clearly, of all the things we do at RCI 10, clearly Night Owl's the best.
It is the best. Well, I'm going to say that because it's my champ, but it's the best. We do have some good other good champs out there. Can't.
Yeah, but none of them as good as Night Owl because it's the best. All of our championships.
Now has its own little thing, but yeah, we love a bit of Night Owl, don't we, Jesse? We miss it when we don't have it on.
Yeah, it is. You know, this spring it was kind of sad we didn't have Night Owl. We got it back now, and it is living up to the hype. The drivers have absolutely come to play 30 or 20 plus car field tonight. 24, 25 cars out there on the racetrack. We took the green here tonight, and that's really good considering how far we are into the championship. There's considerable fall off usually. There has been fall off this season as usual, but still a lot of cars out there. They're and again racing at a brand new place for a lot of people for the first time. They will have limited practice, limited reps around here. Absolutely putting on a show. Speaking of putting on a show, Jonathan Seville, Pole Sim Sport 97 Ferrari, quickest so far. That's what the purple number means for that car. No surprise, was quickest in every sector in qualifying, quickest in the race. No stranger there. Less than 10 minutes, less than 5 minutes. I'd probably say closer to 2 or 3 if my math is correct, till we'll start to see light rain. But that will not make drivers panic here because you don't want to come in immediately. You're waiting for the track to destabilize before you do.
Close battle going on here, Jesse. Right all over Abdello. I really want to know what happened to them. I don't know if it's already been shown, but it really
no, we didn't see what happened to Agudelo. They have now made the pass again and retaken the silver lead, but something major must have happened. Last time I saw them, they were competing for P2 with Timothy Flamger in the 19 Porsche. Then all of a sudden they were down 5 positions and out of the lead. Since then they've been able to gain that back though, but no, we did not see what caused that. I wonder if that was a solo mistake.
I would expect so. Louis, I think, would have shown us a replay of the contact by now, but yeah, not sure what happened. As we see here, Neil Pimlott all over the rear end of Marquis B in the 5-3 Ferrari.
Different lines through that bend right there just illustrates how differently you can take it. Of course, Neil Pimlott trying to make their way up, started near the back. Alexander Rossi not driving the car. It's Neil Pimlott, just as good in my opinion. He's going to try and overtake off the racetrack. I don't know if you can do that legally, and I will tell you something else. That was very scary, very close to being put down the pit lane. That is not how you want it to go, and I could have sworn a moment ago in the camera I saw the rain coming down before it said it was raining, and almost on cue, the other camera reveals that it is indeed light raining. The windscreen wipers now becoming a necessity on the racetrack, and immediately a fast racetrack turns back to green. 17 degrees C the track temp, matched with the air temp. Now the question is, Ted Edwards, when do you come in?
Well, you have 2 mandatory pits, you know, and it's a fixed pit stop time of 25 seconds, so you're only adding 5 seconds more for wets, but like I say, it's when you pit. I think it's when your pressures get a bit too low. You also get a notification saying wets are optimal. I think that's still a thing in ACC. There goes the 111 of Curtin already spinning. So
I didn't even see what happened. Was that just a self spin? Oh, he's spinning again.
Yeah, rear end just went. I believe. I don't know if it was under braking or it's just going for the corner. Oh, wet curb already.
Curb under braking.
Already a wet curb. See the track top right says greasy. Oh dear, and yeah, definitely on that bit part of the track. There are many cars in the rear, in the background going off many, I say one. Matthew Malcolm doing the same thing. Again, Ferrari,
Oh
Jesse.
my goodness.
Oh,
Yeah,
that was the close one.
this is what happens when the track changes, and it's a very sudden change. It went from fast, you think you know that you can take curbs, then all of a sudden we go back to a green track. And just for the uninitiated, anytime a racetrack says that it's in one condition, you just assume the curbs are in a worse state. So even if the track is green and has no rubber in it, you assume that the curbs are going to be worse. The curbs are going to get wet first. Painted lines are going to get very poorly as well. That's exactly what you're experiencing, or what they're experiencing out there on those slick tires. Oh, that was a scary moment for Jonathan Seville, getting that car, wrestling it back onto the racetrack after their first pit stop. Leader of the race already done with their first stop, and I would imagine they have bolted black walled wet weather tires to the Pulse Sim Sport 97, though it doesn't look like it, as still a handful.
Yeah, that may be because, like we said before, they've just done a 12-hour race before this one. Maybe they haven't had much practice in the rain, like everyone else, and just whack some wet tires on with some pressures they think will do. You know, if you don't have the data from running on this track in the wet, then you won't know what pressures, or roughly what pressures you need. So if you know, they've obviously done wet weather driving before, so whacked in pressures that they think, okay, this might do. I can see heavier rain coming in the next 30 minutes, and it's getting heavier on this rain the next 10. So, but you know, you're coming out of pit lane, and they, you know, probably not up to pressure, and just really sliders. You know, we've seen them fighting with the wheel, and now trying to get past another car.
This is technically for position. That's Houston, who he's trying to overtake. Houston goes nearly off the racetrack. I think they might be coming into the pit lane. They are taking a very weird angle and line into it. Pit lane, a very popular place to be right now. Next round of cars in, you've got Flamger, Agadello, Redford, Wilson, Bram, and B all in there. Pimlott, Ferreira back into the pit lane as well. Seville gets by all of them. The top 5 cars still yet to make their stop. Orlix takes the lead of the race in the silver class and overall. Rodriguez, the leader of the pro class right now. Keep in mind, none of these cars have pitted. Timothy Flamger did pit just now, and it appears on our sheet that he's up there, but he is not. I can guarantee you that. He'll be down the order, I believe. Yes, there it is. It will correct itself. So Seville back in front of Flamger as the rain continues to come down. Greasy has turned into damp. If you've not been in yet, certainly have to come this time. Alexander Ulrichs agrees.
I've just seen from the 73 in 11th place, stop and go 30, and that is from in-game, as we don't have any live stewarding for this this season. So that is an in-game penalty, which is speeding in the pit lane, Jesse. That is gonna hurt a lot.
Oh, Marky B's been around, and he's gonna spin it again.
Just turn into a carousel right here.
Yeah, it was in the top 5. Was likely coming into pit lane this time. Just left it a lap too late.
Yeah, it's so sensitive on the throttle, especially when you're... Okay, Stewie's got a new camera, apparently. Oh, what we just joined into?
Oh my goodness! An absolute elbow out of nowhere. Graham Agadello is having all sorts of problems with that 169, the Tier Sim Racing Esports car. Absolutely out of control, and they don't come down the pit lane. Look,
I think Daly blocked him, but Daly was trying to get past, and
no, that had nothing to do with Daly.
No, but here was the Daly got on the inside, and I think blocked the entry. But apart from that, yeah, no, Daly wasn't even involved in the incident as such. But I don't know what the Ferrari was doing. It looked like they were just slowing down too early. I don't know if they were the tyres weren't great on the track, or whatnot, but yeah, rear-ended by Agudelo right there. And yeah, like I said, I think Daly just cut the pit entry off Agudelo, so Agudelo's had to do another lap. But yeah,
well, I mean, I can't blame Daly for anything that happened there, except Daly was just trying to run his race, right?
Yeah, Daly was just trying to stay out of it, and almost got hit when Agudelo got going out of the corner again. But yeah.
This is an interesting predicament we find ourselves in. Jordan Daly still has 2 pit stops to give. So does Bram Agadello. No wipers going on in the 169 tier sim racing esport Lamborghini. Very odd. You know, Rain-X is incredibly useful in this situation, unused in this case. Very odd. What is the strategy here? I can't quite work it out.
Yeah, these two and
They gotta
Redford,
come, right?
yeah, well these two, it comes daily now.
What?
So Agridello's going again. Redford's still out as well in third place, and Silver's still going around in the 95. They're coming into the last corner now, so we'll keep an eye on that track map to see where if they come in this lap. No, you can see him in the background. That car in front of the yellow one, that is Redford. It's still going around. There's still 2 cars. Oh!
Oh, that's huge
Oh.
contact. Several cars off. 3 cars go off into the first turn, and that's a huge accident in Curva Aspar. Mariano Rodriguez, and it's going to be a punt here,
Oh,
and there's going to be a third
no.
car involved. It's the 68 coming out of the pit lane, and he gets tagged into the rear. They're all off into turn number 1. Absolute bedlam in Aspar.
Jeez, that was, yeah, the car coming out of pit lane was just not involved in that whatsoever. It just got clipped on the left rear. And it shouldn't be too much damage, which is good for them. You know, just doing a pit stop. You don't want to get any damage right now. You do have one more, but yeah, still, that was a pretty big shunt, and it just shows that some people might just be running a dry setup, Jesse, and it might not be great in the wet round here. You know, you can look out and run a dry setup in some cars, and they'll run fine in the wet, and some cars just not run at all.
I think chat actually has answered our question about why the windscreen wiper was not going. We're so used as shooting. That was in the no, that wasn't in the pit lane. I thought that threw me a dummy. I thought that was in the pit lane because of the wall. We were looking at pit lane the wrong way around. That's what confused me. But no, backwards into the wall, looking the wrong way down into turn 1 is what happened to shooting there. More people getting on the curbs, more accidents, but I was saying, we definitely got an answer to our question of why no windscreen wiper on in the Lamborghini. Well, they're probably using bonnet or T-cam, something like that, which again, I will say this, bonnet cam is a Jesse Lee approved camera. A lot of professionals use that. There's no shame in that at all. George Kiakowski is going to come across and gain at least 1 spot from a pitting car up to P7, the BDG Sim Racing 212. Up 1 spot into 7th place, and in 4th place in their class for the time being. Jordan Daly did pit, by the way. Bram Agadello has not pitted that we know of. Still 2 pit stops left to give. Mike Redford in the pit lane, doing their first of 2 stops. Another car spun off. It's Rich Schutten again, looping it a 2nd, 3rd, or 4th time.
Yeah, I wonder if their pressures are just right on those wet tyres, and maybe they need to come in and use their final mandatory pit stop to. Yeah, they're running on wets.
Definitely,
yeah,
definitely wet tires. Stewie just had to confirm that those weren't dry tires with the amount of loops that was, and fair on him for doing that. Bad news coming in from Mike Redford's pit garage. Guess who forgot to add 1 liter of fuel to their stuff?
Oh, he didn't.
He did, and he's come in again. He's gonna.
Oh, he came in again.
Well, he's gonna have to make 3 stops, right? So he had to do them anyway. So he's come in for his 2nd stop, which is technically his first legal stop. He'll have to go again. Was that a little bit of a punt from Neil Pimlott there? Phil Roberts is not going to appreciate that so much.
Phil doesn't like being touched.
Yeah, that I'm abundantly clear about.
But we still have 1 car, Jesse, that's still got to do one of the mandatories, and that's Agridello. It's still in 1st and silver, but then he got Orlix, who's done their pit stop 3.1 seconds behind, so they must be losing time. But are they running on wets? They've got to be on dries, but just have a look at their last lap time. doing the 32s, 32.3s, so. Oh no, oh, that's another car, Jesse. Agridello pitted, didn't do the
Yeah.
liter of fuel. Just looking at our last pit stops, and they pitted on lap 8, lap before Orlick, so that's why they still got the lap times up, because they're actually running the right tyre. But that's I hope they know they have to take the liter of fuel, because they should know, because it still says a 2 next to the name.
Yeah, they're going to find out the hard way if they don't do that. So I think we're correct. 2 cars have forgot to take 1 liter of fuel, which was the requirement in the pit lane. One of the requirements in the pit lane. Neil Pimlott, by the way, as the illustration shows you, was able to get around Bill Roberts, the 46, not Rossi car, in front of Thunderbird 2 for the time being. Interesting things all around the racetrack and fantastic drama all around. I think we could all agree. I think now is an appropriate time as any to thank AK Esports for helping us with our server solutions. If you want to host mad, fantastic sim racing content, well, AK Esports is a place that we would recommend, akesports.it. More information about how they can help you with your esports solutions.
What's this we see from Daly? Yeah, getting a little bit loose on them wet curbs there. Nothing too crazy, but Mercedes has got a lot of power to shove down, so you just got to be careful. But I know they have
I'd be real
improved that
careful
car.
about hitting those curbs like that.
Yeah, especially in the Porsche. But yeah, the Mercedes did get a little bit of an oomph. In the 1.9 update, they made it to the real life spec now. They've taken two levels of wing off, so we only run, I think it's 10 now instead of the 12. Oh, there's a car straight off of turn 1. I'm not sure who.
That's
the
the
Redford.
95.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mike Redford has had just about the worst couple of weeks that you could possibly have here on Night Owl.
Yeah.
Touched the pit curb, got shot down the inside, over the inside curb, and then into the outfield, into the dirt. Just dreadful for the Mike Racing 95. But hey, he's plugging along, still got 1 pit stop left to give. He could potentially, and probably will be, still fighting for something at the end of this race, the way that it's shaken out for everyone else.
It was Rue, and
I think the 68 just crashed on the front straight. I think that's law.
Well,
they appear to be going. Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought they appeared to be going backwards for a second. Well, they're going backwards forwards right here, but I'm pretty sure to loop this car, they're gonna have to drive backwards a little bit, which is the scariest thing. He can obviously see the traffic coming. There it is.
Yeah.
Finds the gap, gets the car going the right way, and takes.
That's a very scary moment right there, because you're sitting on a racing line, luckily facing the right way. If you were sideways, that's hard, because you cannot see what's coming. You've got no one to tell you there are cars coming, apart from if you have the track map.
By facing the right way, Ted means facing the wrong way, but I know what you mean.
Oh, sorry, I got my words all mixed up again. But
no, I just assumed what you meant.
But, you know, us sim racers have the luxury of having a track map on the screen like you can see on the right hand side there, so you can see what cars are coming. Whereas in the real world, that gets a lot more trickier, obviously, but you know, you've got to judge it in your own thing. But luckily they were facing the wrong way to see the cars coming towards them, and then got going again. But as we see here, Jesse, Agridello done that pit stop for that 1 litre. Now has to stop and go 30.
Sure does. Speeding in the pit lane on the stop for the 169 Tim Sear Racing Esports Lamborghini. So not only did they not fulfill the requirements on their first stop with their rain tires, they did not do. They fulfilled the requirements this time, but they also sped. So 30-second stop and go for the 169 in the day for the fastest silver qualifying car is continuing to come undone. So on top of the stop and go, they've still got to pit one more time as well. Ulrichs in the 5.87 leads all the silver drivers. Iakowski out of nowhere in P2, and Ferreira, who by the way had incidents earlier on in P3 in that silver class.
It's a pretty crazy race, Jesse, as you see Aguadella coming in to serve the stop and go 30. Basically, all pit stops for this car today. I would say they did one at the beginning, didn't take the leader. They did the leader, sped, now doing a stop and go 30, and they still have another one to do. So, I only said it to 2 mandatory. I didn't set it to 4. I promise.
Well, some of these drivers are going to take 3 stops. Jordan Daly's one of those drivers joining us in chat saying, didn't take fuel in the first stop. I've messed it up. So that would explain why he was up there with Aguadillo. Both those cars did not take fuel on their initial stop. The difference is Daly didn't speed in the pit lane and has an opportunity at a really decent finish, all things considered.
Where are these cars going?
Well, I mean, I say stuff like that, and then Daly drives off the racetrack. Again, the painted areas here, they're actually quite hard to avoid when you're racing here because of the undulations of the racetrack. And yeah, just too many painted surfaces and the braking not adequate enough. A car right behind him going off, doing a similar thing. Luckily, no contact between the two of them, but the Just Gamers 197, I mean, it's not just them, it's everybody is having a rough time of it out there. Wet weather racing at a racetrack where all of the surfaces next to the racetrack are painted. It's a bit touch and go, Tim.
Yeah, it's a bit crazy, but it's nice to see what this track is like in the wet. As we see Phil Roberts getting dived on from Mofat, that is not what you want to do. Phil is not going to have a. I wouldn't want to be. I wouldn't want to be in that car with Phil right now. I say that.
Going to be a stream of obscenities coming out of Thunderbird 2 here in a second. The dive is okay, just doesn't brake quite enough. Gets into Thunderbird 2, the very green Bentley, the only Bentley in the field. Moffitt does back off for his efforts. Danny Moffitt doesn't attempt to contest the spot after that, realizes that he got in there a little too deep, a little bit of contact, backs off in the number 11 Ferrari and gets back out there. Moffitt's quite interesting in his approach. The 11 came in at the end of the first lap, did their first mandatory stop. The rains come down. They come in and do their second stop. They bolt on the wet weather Pirelli tires. They get back out there. They're they're not the only car, but they're the only car in the running, let's say, who has a shot at this race that has done both of their stops at the halfway point. So Moffitt's trying to get a move on, shake a leg, get by some of this traffic, and give himself a shot at, I don't know, maybe a top 5.
Yeah, like there's not many pro cars as it is compared to the silvers. Silvers swamp the pros, but yeah, there's like pretty on for a top 5. It's like what we can't see right now is the silvers at the bottom where they will sort of finish just because of how big the gaps are, and you know, what else happens in this race. As we see, there is going to be more rain coming towards the end of the race, so there is not going to be any more dry running, which I think quite a few other drivers would like a bit of dry running, as we see some spins and stuff happening earlier on. But yeah, it all can change on the pit stop. You know, you can really mess a pit stop by just over.
Oh, he's going to try it again. More contact. Moffitt tries to take the spot from Thunderbird 2. Phil Roberts goes flying off the track in the first turn, and Moffitt is disappearing up the road. Contact a second time around, this time in the first corner as opposed to the last, and that was not pretty.
I don't even think that was going for the corner, Jesse. It didn't look like they were trying to go side by side. It was they got late on the braking and hit Phil in the rear left. That's all I can see. No, and Phil
and more contact for Phil
now.
Roberts.
Phil is not happy. I can already tell it that Phil is shouting. That's not a good
he's shouting.
thing.
He's going to create an entire new universe with this. He's very upset, and probably rightfully so on a couple of accounts, as been used up by a couple of cars out there tonight. Let's reset the race for you just after the halfway point. Seville out in front in the 97, just off a 12-hour SRO extravaganza. I was part of that, and I can tell you it was anything but a calm race. So absolutely fighting for it tooth and nail, where the Pole Sim Sport cars were. Jonathan Seville now continuing to contest this championship. Shows up tonight, Mad Lad, right after the 12-hour ends. I at least had a few hours break, admittedly, before I got to the booth again, but he probably didn't. But he's here, qualified on pole, and has left the field. Jonathan Seville, if you can hear me, run.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy to do another race after an endurance, but yeah, that's just dedication right there. And like I said before, we've had a few drivers do that in the past, but it's not much nowadays. But yeah, it's very nice to see. But yeah, just after the halfway point, and still got a load of pit stops to go, Jesse. I want to see where everyone ends up, and you know, people in clean air like Seville and Flamgo can do pretty well here. You know, you run your own race. You don't have to worry about the car in front. You know, braking for them into corners, them slowing you up. If you can get past the back markers cleanly, that's even a bonus. You know, we've seen already. It's very hard to overtake cars, and we see Phil Roberts in the pit lane. Hopefully doing a pit stop. Hopefully
Yeah.
repairing that damage as well. Like, didn't hit a few times in the diffuser.
I was going to say it's a longer stop. I don't think he's attempting to retire from the race. He's certainly not. He satisfied the requirements of the stop, but he also
He's rolling.
probably wanted to repair the car. So a little bit longer on my stopwatch, but of course, when you repair damage, that will happen. This is Jonathan Seville. For those of you that haven't seen the Pulse Sim Sport driver this evening here, he has driven away from the field to the tune of just about 10 seconds over Timothy Flamger and is on a cruise all unto himself. Complete command of the race car, complete command of the circuit, and has one pit stop left to give. You know, we've seen so many cars going off tonight. I was reading some of the interesting things chat was saying. Phil in chat saying Circuit Safari. Mini Simeon chimes in, Expedition into the Wild. It feels like that a bit tonight.
Yeah, just watching Seville here, and they are not struggling with this car whatsoever.
No.
Compared to the other cars, they just... I just don't know how some people can just get in the car, especially after the race they've done earlier on. Probably not really knowing what pressures they need, but just wax them in and they drive. These tyres could be unpressured, they could be overpressured, but apart from that bit there, apart from that bit there,
Gary Brands went off the racetrack. Or Barham,
again,
rather,
same
excuse
corner.
me.
They were following daily.
Yeah. Oh, he's gonna make it to the wall, and he does. Luckily, it was light contact.
Yeah.
Running inside the top 10, Gary Barham able to get the car back out there. Doesn't actually lose a spot there. It's how spread out they were. That will help Neil Pimlott close in under 10 seconds between the 9th and the 10th place car. Ben Law's been off a couple of times. Are we going to see an incident, or is he going to be the incident? That's the question. I'm going to guess it's going to be the same place, this tricky section right here.
Or maybe not.
It's going to leave. Ooh. He's going to leave it. Stubby's going to leave us in suspense.
67, Jesse. Drive through. That is track limits. How do you get track limits here? I do not know, but...
Well, in the rain, I think it's a lot easier than in the dry.
Yeah, I'd say so, but I've probably got 1 or 2 warnings, but that's from cutting the... in like 4-5 area where you can cut the corner a bit too much by just going over the curb a bit too much. Like, but unless you go really wide here in the exit of turn 1, they're pretty tricky in my opinion. But then again, if you're trying to get as much time as you can, where is the 73 going? I do not know, but I guess if you're trying to get as much time out of the car you can, then that's when you go track limits.
Well, it's one of those nights. The one who makes the least mistakes is probably going to emerge victorious right now. That's Jonathan Seville and Ulrichs in the silver class. Both those leading, both those cars on the overall podium. Do bear in mind, drop round in play. Your worst finish of the series gets omitted from the final championship results. And on top of that, you're not racing for overall points. You're racing for in-class points. Ulrichs has done a great job showing great command as well. We talked about Seville and the job that they were doing. Credit to Ulrichs as well, doing the same thing in the silver class, unchallenged here tonight once we've settled into the race. The biggest challenge on a night like tonight, though, as always, Ted, what do you do as a race car driver? You race the racetrack. A lot of these drivers tonight, I'm sorry to say it, they're losing that battle.
They sure are. A bit here, there, and everywhere. There seems to be a few more people jumping in pit lane to do their final mandatory stop. Oh, that's probably the tiniest contact we've seen all race, but
Oh, watch out here.
that was very close. But well, great move by Bonds, I think that was. No, that was Mark. Wait, no, who? That was Malcolm. Sorry, it hasn't changed on the left-hand side. I'm trying to get my head around things. But yeah, just it's slip and slide for most cars, Jesse, and I'm not sure if it's to do with setup or if it's to do with the tyres. I still don't know, but because I've really only driven the Porsche, and you only have two Porsches in this, Flounder and Wilson. So it just looks like there you go, the Ferrari just a little bit more slippier than the rest of the cars.
So, some of these drivers, I would say a lot of these drivers, they don't have a lot of practice here in the dry, let alone in the wet too. So you talk about setup. Setup's a big issue. You kind of know based on practice, which was done in the wet, you kind of have an idea where your tire temps are going to be. But whenever you start off on a damp racetrack and you go into a wet scenario and the rain continues to get more and more aggressive, you're kind of aiming for a moving target. Setup wise, you only get one opportunity, one shot mom spaghetti to get that done correctly, and it's very possible that you get it wrong a little bit. And also too, different cars, of course, 1.9 dramatically completely changed the game. For those of you that have played ACC in the 1.8 update and it wasn't to your liking, I urge you, I beg of you, try the 1.9 update. It literally changed everything. I am in love with how this sim races these days based on that update. And also too, I mean, why wouldn't I love it? It actually made me quite a bit quicker because it just, everything just makes more sense. But again, when you go to new tracks though, you have to learn everything. And for a lot of people, you end up learning that the hard way. And for some tonight, they're learning that here live on RCI TV.
Yeah, I'm having so much fun with this new update. It's basically a new
Yeah,
sim.
I know you are.
And
I know you are, Mr. Pro Driver Top 5. Yeah,
all
I know about it.
all right. But
Big man in the booth tonight, Ted Edwards.
well, I had one good race yesterday, but yeah, I used to make my own setups. A year or two ago now, and then yeah, 1.8 come out. I know a lot of people didn't really like it too much. I relied on setups a bit too much than I should have, and now I've been just sort of doing my own and having a few of those Go setups, Jesse. You know about Go setups?
I do indeed. Well, there's nothing better than setups to help you out, to help you understand and get up to pace a little bit quicker. Go setups has you covered. Setups for the brand new track, for all the cars as well. Go to Go Setups, visit the link in the description, get up to pace today. And I can say I've heard a lot of people praising the Go Setups recently for helping them not only get up to pace, but again, understand what the rates of the car does and what is acceptable, what doesn't work anymore. All these things combined. Go Setups, go get you some.
Yeah, they're pretty good if you don't know how to set setups up efficiently, or just even the basics, and you're not happy with the ACC default ones that are in the game. That's a massive slide from Horlicks right there. But yeah, the Go setups do help you to understand. Oh, okay, they've done this to it because this, helps the rear end or the front end or the air or whatever. They are really good, to be fair.
I'm going to give Alexander Ulrichs, I'm going to give him a 7 for angle. I'm going to give him a 0 for clipping point. He didn't hit any clipping point. I'm going to give him a 10 out of 10 for style, though.
You've been watching that drifting yesterday. That was on the nerves.
Phil Roberts off again. Was that contact with the Porsche? I hope not. Doesn't look like it.
Inflicted curb and onto that red and white
curb and paint,
stripey stuff, whatever it is. Paint stuff. That's it. The painty stuff. Yeah. That stuff is lethal.
if you are wondering what that tiny strip of tarmac is in the painted section, that's the MotoGP penalty line. You see that more and more on some of these tracks that the GT World Challenge goes to. You get a penalty, you can serve that in those lanes. MotoGP, you'll see no such thing in GT racing. Of course, the lane not big enough. But I will say, how entertaining would that be to GT racing if you get a penalty to take a Joker lane?
I quite like that. It spices things up. Ben Law, he would have to do a Joker lap right now, right? For getting a drive through track limits. Unfortunately, to do is 7 at that now. No, do a Joker lap, Ben. What are you doing?
No, don't do a choker lap then. Go into the pit lane. You got a time penalty is added onto your next pit stop or your total time after the race. A drive-through penalty, and I think a stop and go as well, right? Those, you get 3 laps to come in and serve that penalty. If you don't come in within 3 circuits of when you receive it, you get automatically disqualified by the sim. The car off in the background. That is Donoso in the number 50. Oh my goodness, so right in front of the leader of the race. Got to be careful everywhere.
Also though, Jesse, if you get a stop and I don't know about stop and goes, but I know for drive-through, if it's towards the end of the race and you come across the line before you use the 3 laps up, it'll give you a 30-second penalty added on rather than a drive-through. So, Alex sliding again and gone round. Pretty sure they've just spun around. No, they're still going. They are still going. I thought that was a loop-de-loopy there then, Jesse. Let's have a look at this.
Stewie's going to do the thing. This is your leader in the silver class. Ulrich's hitting the curb, hitting the painted line. We thought he went around here, but he didn't. He saved the car twice.
That's pretty impressive. That's someone who's got really good throttle control and just car control, really. Yeah, just get onto that paint strip. Stewie just in my ears, just telling me I'm wrong, but you can't hear that, so that's fine.
Stewie can't hurt you on the live stream.
I forgot what I was on about now. But,
Orlix has been passed, by the way. That was a pass from position. EPEC up to P3 overall. That really doesn't affect Orlix, really, unless they were trying to do a point of pride and get a overall podium. Doesn't pay more to do that, of course, but EPEC 11 EPEC up there in P3 now in the 2-4, able to avoid all of that. But I will say 587's not letting them go, as Alexander might be chasing them back down. And if that is the case, decisions, what do you do in that case?
It's pretty, by the looks of it, it's pretty tricky to drive in the wet round here. If you just mess up one of your braking points, especially on these next corners, as we've seen many a times, people going wide and catching on the paint and sliding, that's you done. Like here, for instance, you're on the paint, you put your throttle down too much, as Marky P just takes it very, very slowly, joins pretty nicely as well. But you know, if you put your foot down too much, or you're already sliding going into it, you're still sliding. That's it. You're gonna lose loads of time, and you know it's just a simple mistake of braking too late. I found that out last night in Zandvoort. It's not as bad as this because you don't have all the paint on the sides, but you miss your braking point just a slight bit in the wet, and you just keep sliding. You miss the corner.
85 and the 95 in the pit lane. Mike Redford, for all the strife that he's had to deal with this evening, he's still in the top 10 for the time being. He might not be by the time the pit stop is complete, but he could be quite close still, getting a top 10, and more importantly, might be on for a top 5 in the silver class. I think he'd be safe in that, but 85 also in the lane. A couple of cars up at the front of the field. The top 5 in general have not completed their final required pit stop of the night, led by Seville, Flamger, and EPEC. Ulrichs and Kierton, the other two, who have not done their second mandatory stop. 12 and a half minutes left in the race, Ted Edwards, and time to pose a question to you. Do you think some of these drivers are going to be upset at you post-race tonight?
Yes, they always are. It's
Oh, so it
every-
doesn't matter. It
It
doesn't
doesn't
matter.
matter. Every time there's a double pit stop, they don't like it too much. Sometimes I have had people say I actually quite like this champ for its wacky pit stops because it always puts you on your toes. Because they
Hmm.
don't find out what the pit requirement is until the race server goes live. As soon as that goes live at 10 p.m. BST, then they know what it's going to be. Until then, they have no clue. So you know, it either can go in their favour of what they've been practicing, or it can just throw their strategy straight out the window.
I've always said drivers and teams, they vote with their participation in races and series. And, well, we've had incredibly good turnout this year for Night Owl. And I think that in the numbers speak for themselves. Ben Law's been around again in the same
Oh,
section, the trickiest part of the racetrack, and that's a full loop to loop and spin.
I've
They did
just
not stall
seen,
the car there.
I've
Maybe
just
they
seen
did.
a bigger crash, Jesse, on my other cameras I have, with Starkey, the 123. Stewie hopefully will find that for us. Pretty big. Everyone's spinning again, Jesse. I wonder if it's more rain coming down. Maybe pressure's getting a bit lower than what they were. Um, oh no!
Oh, no,
This
that's the 11.
yeah,
Wasn't that
this
the
is
11?
yeah,
Yeah.
this is yeah, 50 and the 11. Different incident. Everyone's deciding to have a bit of contact all at once. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Oh dear.
Oh, no!
903 just catches the wet curb under braking and hits the rear end of the 123. We've got another one with Redford, the 95, and then
Oh,
Gary. Oh,
oh,
it's
just a little bit of contact. Oh my goodness! Do they make
it's,
it through the turn? Yes, they do.
it's
But yeah,
all
that
happening.
was not Pusina's fault. I just want to point that
No.
out. That was not. They did not mean to turn Starkey. That was an absolute accident. Everybody can see that. Just the wet curb. Didn't realize the car was going to react that way
Oh
as they attempted to
no.
pull off to the curb and took out Starkey. Starkey's gonna try and figure out why he was just turned on a straight there, but it was an absolute accident. Again, more accidents happening throughout the field. Top four still yet to pit, make that the top three. 11 EPEC into the pit lane, the 224 coming down to the attention of his team and doing the final stop of the race. One car in the middle of the field. I think that's Marquee B, still a pit stop to give. Almost everybody else has completed their stop. Quite frankly, several of the cars have stopped more than they needed to tonight, both in the pit lane and on the racetrack.
Phil Roberts trying to get past Marky B there. Marky B's, for some reason, has got their hazard lights on, I have noticed. That is not something
I
you want
mean,
to
it
keep
seems
on.
appropriate.
Well, you said it, but
Not
it's not something you
for
want.
him particular, not for
Yeah?
him particular, but
For
for
other
the race
people.
conditions. Just so we're clear.
But it's something you don't want to have on all the time because people might think you're damaged, and because they automatically come on when you get a meatball, which is the black flag with the orange dot in the middle.
Ted, we're all damaged after this race, all right, buddy? All right, there's
Oh
nobody.
no,
Oh,
Phil!
speaking of
Oh,
which, it's a
save
huge
it!
slide for Phil Roberts. He's going to
Oh
lock it up,
no!
and he's going to unlock it up at the wrong time. He's going to half spin, but he keeps it from going around and keeps it from being a bigger incident. Thunderbird 2 maybe go, but they need a little help from Thunderbird 1 and 3.
Yeah, Phil. I know Phil wasn't having a great time in the practice session as Seville does their last mandatory pit stop. Hopefully, he doesn't get a stop and go 30, and they don't, so they are free to.
Why would you even bring that up? Why'd you do
I
that?
don't know.
Why are you like this, Tom?
Cause I like cursing people.
Well, you heard it here first.
That was
No
close.
incident there for Seville, nearly an incident here. Jordan Daly fighting Kwiatkowski for 7th place. Car in the middle there obliges, gets out of the line of fire, so to speak, and the battle does continue. It does feel like that a little bit.
Oh.
Look at this! What a move! What a thing! Kwiatkowski just gets out of the way. Have you ever seen anything
So
like
smart.
that outside of F1 where it's staged?
That is a power play right there. Just because they're in. Ooh. Oh.
Phil Roberts following the car in front of him gets 2 onto the paint. Can't do that in the wet.
Poor Phil. I do feel sorry for Phil. The only Bentley in the champ and just suffering a little bit. He used to call them boat leads, but I don't think they do very well in the wet by the looks of it. But yeah, Kwiatkowski, I think has maybe first in silver if when Orlik pits, maybe second. I'm not too sure. We'll have to wait and see. But very good move just to let Daly through. No point in fighting. No point losing time. Just might as well follow Daly. Get the as we see Ferrari dive off into pit lane. I think that's Curtin. The triple one. No, it's Orlik. Sorry, it's top, first place in silver. It's just doing their pit stop. So we'll see where they come out. But Kwiatkowski, very well played, and that's Piscina going for the barrier.
Oh, Piscina!
No! Oh,
no, saved it, locked it down, was able to save it, but a spin there or half spin, never made it fully around.
Ignore the mirror.
Ignore that. Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. Ignore that. That's not happening live.
One save, to be fair. That was. I honestly thought they were just going to keep going across the gravel and find the barrier, but yeah, well done. We see the 73 here. Got this drive through for track limits. Just using a bit too much. Well, I say too much of the track. They're not even using the track if they're getting the track limits. They'll have to serve that. Before the end of the race, I don't think they'll be able to just ignore it and just get a 30-second penalty, but that's unfortunate for them.
Chad's got some love for the big Bentley, regardless of how well it's doing. The Bill Roberts fan club continuing here tonight. Chris Wilson making a day of it. Unfortunately, a drive-through penalty for track limits. I worry with 5.5 minutes left to go. That's not the last one that we are going to get today. I want it to be the last one, but I'm just afraid to say it is. And look at this. Ooh. It's going to be a huge drift. Is this a save? Yes, it is. You know, they do drifting around here as well. Usually it's dry when they do that, but that was a nice save.
Stewie wants to see the Porsche drift. Yeah, Stewie likes his 10 out of 10. Best drift of the race. Definitely. That's that was quite nice actually, Jesse.
He actually hit the clipping point. He gets a 9.5 for the clipping point right there. He actually hit it. Chris Wilson is going to come in to serve that drive-through penalty.
My God.
Oh no! He's sped in the pit lane.
That was, I think, 90 kilometers on the dash.
Oh, he's gonna get done for that, Ted.
And I think it's 50. So I'm expecting a stop and go, or at minimum a drive-through, because I know they actually come now a drive-through. So we're gonna wait and see.
Wait for it, ladies and gentlemen.
And a stop.
And there it is. Yeah, it was excessive. There are different levels of penalty, like Ted was saying. If it's minor speeding in the pit lane, you get a drive-through penalty. If it's major speeding, you get a stop and go 30. And unfortunately, that was classified as major speeding. The Wilson Racing team, they're gonna have a few drinks tonight, but it's gonna be to forget this race never happened. Seville out in front, absolutely loving it. 2 seconds in front of Olivier Kierton, but Kierton has to make a pit stop. Seville's not nearly as far in front of Flamger as he was earlier on in this race, and I wonder if Seville's either been taking their time or has had their own little moments out there on the racetrack. It's only about 10 seconds first to second place. It was definitely bigger than that at some point.
Maybe it's just all the traffic they're trying to get through. You know, like I said before, tracks, as we've seen, the track's not the easiest to get by people, especially if they don't want to let you through straight away. We've seen some people let people through, like Kwiatkowski just move right out of the way. We've seen other back markers move right out of the way. Some just sit there until there's probably a straight coming up, and then they let the other person go through, because obviously they don't want to get dived on into a corner and then they mess up or then a crash happens. So maybe they've just been slowed down by back markers. Yeah, it's still about 10 seconds between Seville and Flamger. Just looking at all.
Stewie's correcting me, by the way. He's saying that it's been right around that gap for a large portion of the race, and I just haven't noticed that. It's possible I caught the gap during the sequence of green flag pit stops, right? And I was looking at weird time deltas there. So I'm going to err on the side of Stewie usually being right. He's very efficient, very smart. But I'm going to assume he's correct in this case.
Just looking at the gap between IPEC and Curtin. Curtin's just done their pit stop. They are rolling out of the pit box now, coming to the end of the pit line. Well, they're down in fifth place. It did say IPEC was 30 seconds behind Curtin, but I think guess that was just a little bit glitched on our side. It does say 20 seconds to the next car. We'll have to have a look in a second. Oh, that is to Flamga, IPEC to Flamga. So Flamga's got a pretty nice gap. What's that? 27 seconds. It just said there. 6 seconds for Orlix to IPEC. So Orlix really running away with this race. There goes Wilson doing the stop and go 30, and no more penalties. So lucky for them, but unlucky at the same time. But you know, these things happen. I've sped into the pit lane before, and yeah, it's not the end of the world, but it really ruins your race.
Ted, would you happen to know a place I could go to shop for sim racing hardware?
That'd be Digital Motorsports.
It sure would. Digital Motorsports, of course, is your one-stop shop for everything sim racing. Doesn't matter if you're just looking for a new wheel or you're looking for an entirely new rig. DigitalMotorsports.com has you covered. And oh, by the way, while you're over there, check out their bespoke sim rig builder, free use in the app or on the website. In this case, build your own sim rig to your specification and use case. DigitalMotorsports.com. I don't think they noticed.
That's twice we've done that. But
I think we're winning them over.
I think so. Oh, Benlaw again span around. Oh, these curbs are really slippery. Some tracks are not too bad, but yeah, Valencia is pretty brutal.
Yeah, Ben Law tried to save that, almost nearly had it, realized what was going to happen to the car, and just tried to counter correct it, but it just kept undulating and eventually went around. Leaders on the last lap of the race, quite mercilessly to everyone involved. No contact here, just a pass being made, but also able to make that work out in the end. Marky B here finds himself in a battle with Donoso still. They continue to fight. This is the end of the race. Jonathan Seville has come across the line already and has won for Pulse Sim Sport. It's another brilliant win for Pulse Sim Sport, the 97, winning out here tonight in a rainy Valencia racetrack. Timothy Flamger and the number 19 Porsche comes home in P2. A brilliant and quiet showing for that driver. Levin Epek just crossing the line here for P3, the 224 taking the final step of the podium. Race is still going on, and it's going to be contact, and it's going to be a punt. Marky B, huge contact to Donoso. Marky B getting contacted by Donoso there. B going spinning off. Lamborghini's onto the infield, which is actually the outfield. Ulrichs comes across the line to win it in silver. The 587 wasn't the quickest in qualifying. Didn't have to be. The most consistent silver car wins it in the silver class. Gary Barham here is about to send Marky B for a ride and does.
Just locks up into braking, and the Lamborghini almost hits the rear end of the Ferrari, and that's where they span around as well. All happening at the end of the race here. Yeah, Orlick's taking first in silver. Kwiatkowski takes an easy second in silver because Pimlock crossed the line behind the race leader, and Kwiatkowski was still going round the track in front of the race leader. So Pimlock takes home a third for the silver class. What a race.
Yeah, what a race indeed. Final results scrolling on your screen. Olivier, Kierton, Moffitt, Daly, Kwiatkowski, Pimlott, Redford, the rest of your top 10. Kwiatkowski and Pimlott, like you said, they get credited with a podium in the silver class. Seville, Flamger, Epek, your podium finishers in the pro class. Some of the drivers already in chat lamenting the race and thanking you, I suppose, in a way, that it is over. Race number 4, the first race at Valencia. I think for a lot of drivers, they unfortunately learned a lot, and the thing that they learned the most, you cannot touch the curbs here.
Yeah, well, we definitely learned that tonight, Jesse. I'll definitely put that in my notes book of what not to do at Valencia. But yeah, it was had some nice overtakes, had some crashes, which I would expect to see in the post-race stewarding. Should always report any incidents that happen to you or you see in front of you.
Well, of course, a big thank you to our other partners that we have here at RCI. Driver 61. If you want to learn how to drive a little bit better in the wet around Valencia and not touch some of the painted surfaces, driver61.com. You could use our discount code RCI Coaching D61 for 25% off your driving coaching over there. They got more than one-on-one sessions, by the way. They got full-on racing schools that you can take part in. Several of the admin group here at RCI have taken the one-on-one courses, and it did make an improvement of their driving ability. Driver61.com. Use our discount code for 25% off. Of course, Fanatec, want to feel the road a little bit better as well. Fanatec leads the league in direct drive simulation hardware. Feel free to use our affiliate link in the chat when making purchases from fanatec.com. And for those of you that already have done that, we give you a hearty thank you very much. Ted Edwards, sum up today's race.
Pretty wet, pretty crazy, and never a dull moment.
Well, it's never a dull moment in Night Owl. We were talking a little bit about the series and all the other series that go on. I have a little bit more fun in Night Owl than I probably should do over everything else. And what makes Night Owl so interesting is it is so unpredictable with the pit stops, with the weather some of the time, and you just can never rest on your laurels. What I can tell you is Jonathan Seville has taken the championship lead here and will next weekend have a quite sizable lead as we run into Monza of all places for the penultimate round in this series. Quickly before we go tonight, sign up for the BMW Academy. Mondays coming up in just 1 week's time from this Monday. BMW Academy. 3 different BMWs, the touring car M2, the GT4 car, and the GT3 car. 2 races apiece in that series. It's going to be awesome. Single make series, right? Everybody's in the same cars. So it's not multi-class, but your car changes every second race to a different BMW. BMW Academy. A lot of people are signed up for that. Don't miss your opportunity to start that championship when it starts May the 29th. 4 hours of Silverstone multi-class as well, open for signups. GT3 and GT4 for 4 hours of Silverstone. I'm going to be in that race. I'm pretty sure Ted's going to be in that race. Come race against us. Have fun
Hell
with
yeah.
that. Of course, for Night Owl, we'll be back with you next weekend for the Monza round number 5. What else do we got going on? The Wednesday Championship already going on. 3 in that series. Season 4 of the Wednesday Champ, halfway through the season, but you can sign up. This is the brilliant part about RCI. You sign up for any series mid-season, do your pre-quali the week of, get in the race that week or weekend. Again, you can do that with Night Owl as well. We'd love to see you next weekend. Ted Edwards, wow, what a race.
What a race it was.
Incredible stuff. All that's left to do is thank all of you for being with us in chat. Chat, you make it interesting for us. You keep us on our toes, and sometimes you correct us with our bad maths. Mostly just me, though. Thank you all for watching on behalf of everybody here at RCI, the admins, the stewards, and the broadcast team. We thank you for watching this presentation of Night Owl. We'll see you next Friday for Friday Champ, and next Saturday night, we'll see you right back here. And until then, have a good night.